Hey everybody, Chris Englebert with Englebert Financial Advisors in Allentown, Pennsylvania with the weekly Rotella QCast update. You can see by my slides that we're going to be talking about something very important on why you need to focus and manage your debt. So what happens is that we're finding out that with many investors, everybody wants to do the same thing. Hey, I want to accumulate money. I want to have a stock portfolio. I want to have my IRA grow. I want to make my 401k bigger. But the problem that we're seeing out there is that the debt that people have is literally the single biggest obstacle for them to creating wealth. And if you think about it, if you're making a car payment, if you're making a mortgage payment, if you're making credit card payments. I always tell the famous story how I had a woman come in one time and she had $15,000 worth of credit card debt, and she'd just gotten a bonus of $15,000. And I said to her, well, your best rate of return is to pay off your credit card debt of $15,000 because it's literally 23%. She's like, oh, I don't want to do that because that means writing a great big check out, and I kind of want to save that money. Well, if you think about it, that was really very nonsensical because she was in her own way as far as accumulating assets. And we're seeing that taking on debt is one of the biggest obstacles to people being able to accumulate assets. Now, disturbing trend that's been happening in the last couple of years is that we are in an ultra low interest rate environment when it comes especially to home mortgages and home equity loans. So what are people doing? They're doing something that they did in the early 2000s again. They're seeing their home price appreciate and they're saying, hey, why don't we suck out some equity and buy a motor home or put a pool in or put an addition onto the house, etc. And people are literally using their houses like ATM machines again. Now, if you think about that, is that really a great idea if you're getting close to retirement? Maybe you have 10 years from retirement and all of a sudden your mortgage is down to $50,000 and there you go and reload your debt pie and make your mortgage back to $250,000. We think things that people are doing right now really aren't making sense. Now, the other thing that we want to point out is the dangers of taking debt on later in life. Many times we see people, that are saying, again, hey, I'm going to take out a home equity loan. I'm 55 years old. We're going to buy a beach property or we're going to end up buying a motor home or whatever the case may be. And they reload their debt. And what ends up happening is it really doesn't help them to save for retirement because they're making payments on that debt that they just took out. Now, what are the downsides of some of that happening? And unfortunately, we have run into this in the last 2 years where people have virtually had their homes paid off. They went out, took out a home equity line of credit, and unforeseen circumstances happen where they lose a job or worse yet, lose a spouse, and they've got to turn around and literally sell their house to pay down that debt. So we're trying to have people be very careful and focus on managing their debt. We see most people do a pretty good job of it, but obviously younger people who are trying to buy a house, pay for college, etc., allow their debt bubble to float up. And we think that you have to be as aggressive on managing the debt side of your balance sheet as you are on managing your asset side of your balance sheet. That's the only way you're really going to save money for your retirement and have a really good retirement at some point in the future. So if you want other tips and tricks on how to manage your debt, reach out to us. And if you have a special situation, we're more than willing to give you a strategy on how to manage your debt and give you some ideas on what you can do. Because many times people are overwhelmed and they're saying to themselves, well, I'll never get out from under this debt bubble. What am I going to do? There are ways to corral your debt, get it under control, get it paid down, and then start accumulating assets to be able to have a great investment account, a great retirement account, and a very bright future as far as retirement goes at some point. So that's all we have for this week for Rotella's QCast. Thanks again. We'll be back next week.